The Industrial Revolution. Introduction. A world on the edge of change. Before the Industrial Revolution, the world moved at the pace of muscle, wind, and water. People lived in small villages, worked on farms, and made goods by hand. Life was simple, but also slow, uncertain, and limited by nature. Then came a transformation so profound that it reshaped every aspect of human life, how people worked, lived, traveled, and thought. This was the Industrial Revolution, a wave of technological, economic, and social change that began in the 18th century and spread across the world. It was not just a story of machines, but of people, innovators, dreamers, workers, and visionaries who pushed humanity into a new era. Let's explore how this revolution unfolded. Chapter 1. The World Before the Machines. In the early 1700s, most people in Europe lived in rural areas. The economy was agrarian, based on farming. Families worked from sunrise to sunset, producing just enough to survive. Textiles, tools, and household goods were made by hand, often at home. This system was called the cottage industry. A weaver might make cloth in his cottage, while a spinner, often his wife, spun thread using a simple spinning wheel. Transport was slow. Roads were muddy tracks, rivers were unreliable, and communication was limited. But change was in the air. Population growth, improved agriculture, and expanding trade began to create new demands and new opportunities. Chapter 2. Seeds of Change, the Agricultural Revolution. Before factories came fields. The agricultural revolution in Britain laid the foundation for industrialization. Innovations like Jethro Tull's seed drill, crop rotation, and enclosure laws increased food production and efficiency. Large landowners fenced off land that used to be shared by villagers, turning it into private farms. While this boosted output, it displaced thousands of small farmers. Many were forced to leave the countryside and move to towns in search of work. This migration of people from farms to cities would soon feed the growing demand for factory labor. Chapter 3. The Spark, Invention of the Machines. The heart of the Industrial Revolution was innovation, the textile industry. The first industry to transform was textiles. In the mid-17th century, Britain's demand for cotton cloth was skyrocketing. Inventors responded. John Kay's flying shuttle, 1733, allowed one weaver to do the work of two. James Hargreaves's spinning jenny, 1764, could spin several threads at once. Richard Arkwright's water frame, 1769, used water power to spin stronger yarn. Samuel Crompton's spinning mule, 1779, combined the best of both machines. Edmund Cartwright's power loom, 1785, mechanized weaving entirely. Textile production moved from homes to large factories, powered first by water and later by steam. The steam engine. If the textile machine was the body, the steam engine was the heart. Invented by Thomas Newcomen and later perfected by James Watt in the late 1700s, the steam engine could pump water, power machines, and drive locomotives. This single invention changed everything. It freed factories from rivers and allowed industries to grow anywhere. Chapter 4. Iron, Coal, and Steam. The Engines of Progress. Britain's natural resources played a crucial role. The country had abundant coal and iron ore, essential for powering steam engines and building machines. Coal became the new energy source, replacing wood. It fueled furnaces that smelted iron using coke, a purified form of coal. Innovators like Abraham Darby improved smelting techniques, making iron cheaper and stronger. With better iron came railways, bridges, ships and machines, the skeleton of the modern world. Steam engines powered coal mines, which in turn produced more fuel for more engines, a cycle of progress that accelerated human advancement. Chapter 5. The Rise of the Factory System. Factories became the symbol of the Industrial Revolution. Instead of small workshops, production now happened in large buildings filled with machines. These factories required workers to operate them, leading to a massive shift in labor patterns. Men, women, and even children worked long hours, often 12 to 16 hours a day, in poor conditions. Factory owners sought efficiency and profit, while workers struggled for rights and fair wages. The factory system introduced discipline, timed work, and mass production, concepts that shaped modern labor culture. Though harsh, it also created urbanization. Towns grew into cities as thousands flocked to industrial centres like Manchester, Birmingham, and Glasgow. Chapter 6. Revolution on the Move. Transportation and Communication. No revolution could have spread without transport. Railways, steam engines found a new home on rails. In 1814, George Stephenson built his first locomotive. Soon, railways connected cities, ports, and factories. The Liverpool-Manchester Railway, 1830, was the first major line, marking a new era of travel. Trains carried raw materials, finished goods, and people faster and cheaper than ever before. Ships and roads. Steam also conquered the seas. Robert Fulton's steamboat, 1807, and Isambard Kingdom Brunel's steamships made global trade faster and more reliable. Roads improved with John Macadam's macadamized surfaces, making transport smoother and more efficient. Communication. The telegraph, invented by Samuel Morse, shrank distances even further. Messages that once took weeks could now be sent in minutes. The world was becoming connected, a global network of industry, trade, and information. Chapter 7. Life in the Industrial City. City life during the Industrial Revolution was a mix of opportunity and hardship. The new cities grew rapidly, but without planning. Housing was cramped, sanitation was poor, and diseases spread easily. For the working class, life was harsh. Factory workers earned little, faced dangerous conditions, and had almost no job security. Child labour was common. Children as young as 6 worked in mines and mills. But amidst the darkness, there was also light. New social classes emerged: the industrial middle class of entrepreneurs and professionals, and a working class that began to demand rights. Movements for education, health, and labour reforms began to rise. Writers like Charles Dickens depicted these struggles in works like Oliver Twist and Hard Times. Chapter 8. The Second Industrial Revolution. By the mid-19th century, industrialization spread beyond Britain to Europe, America, and Asia. This second phase brought even more revolutionary inventions: electricity, Thomas Edison, Nikola Tesla; the telephone, Alexander Graham Bell; the light bulb, the internal combustion engine, steel production, Bessemer process. Chemicals and fertilizers factories became larger and more efficient. Mass production took over, typified by Henry Ford's assembly line for automobiles. This period also saw the birth of modern capitalism, global trade, and the consumer economy. Chapter 9. Social and cultural transformations. The Industrial Revolution changed not only economies, but also how people lived, thought, and related to one another. Urbanization and family life families moved from villages to industrial towns. The traditional rhythm of rural life was replaced by the clock of the factory. Women entered the workforce in large numbers, especially in textiles. This began early debates about gender roles and equality. Education and reforms. The need for skilled labor led to public education systems. Reformers like Robert Owen and Friedrich Engels advocated better conditions and the rights of workers. Trade unions formed, leading to labor movements that fought for shorter working hours, fair pay, and safer workplaces. Science and innovation. The industrial age fueled scientific curiosity. Advances in chemistry, physics, and engineering became the foundation of modern technology. The idea of progress, that humanity could continually improve, became central to the modern worldview. Chapter 10. The Global Impact. Empire and Inequality. The Industrial Revolution made some nations powerful and others dependent. Industrialized countries like Britain, France, and later the US sought raw materials and markets abroad. This drove colonial expansion across Asia, Africa, and Latin America. While industrial powers grew rich, colonies provided cheap labor and resources, often at great human cost. This created global inequalities that still echo today. Yet it also spread technology, infrastructure, and education to many parts of the world. Chapter 11. Critics and Thinkers. Not everyone celebrated industrial progress. Philosophers and writers questioned the moral cost of industry. Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels argued that capitalism exploited workers. Their Communist Manifesto, 1848, became a rallying cry for labor movements. Romantic poets like William Wordsworth mourned the loss of nature and simplicity. Others feared that machines would dehumanize life and replace human creativity. These debates continue even today in discussions about automation, inequality, and technology. Chapter 12. The Legacy of the Industrial Revolution. By the early 20th century, the world had been completely transformed. Steam engines had given way to electricity and oil. Factories dominated economies. Cities were hubs of culture and innovation. People could travel across continents, communicate instantly, and produce goods on a scale never seen before. The Industrial Revolution marked the birth of the modern world. Industrial, urban, technological, and global. It set the stage for later revolutions: digital, scientific, and informational. Chapter 13. Lessons and Reflections. Looking back, the Industrial Revolution teaches us several lessons. 1. Innovation drives change. Technology can uplift societies, but it must be guided by ethics and humanity. 2. Progress has a price. Every leap forward brings new challenges: pollution, inequality, and cultural loss. 3. Adaptation is key. Those who embraced change thrived. Those who resisted were left behind. 4. Balance matters. Economic growth must coexist with social justice and environmental care. Conclusion. The machine and the mind. The Industrial Revolution was not just about machines. It was about the human mind's ability to dream, invent, and reshape the world. From spinning wheels to steam engines, from railways to rockets, every invention since has carried its spirit forward. We live today in the echo of that revolution, in a world of constant innovation, driven by the same forces that powered the first factory looms and steam engines. The Industrial Revolution reminds us that progress begins not with machines, but with imagination.